Have you ever wondered how we got here? Not just you and me, but all of us. How did we go from scattered tribes of hunter-gatherers to a globally interconnected civilization of billions capable of splitting the atom and reaching for the stars? This is the story of us, the entire history of human civilizations, from our very first steps to the digital age. Our story begins around 12,000 years ago, after the last ice age, a pivotal moment known as the agricultural revolution. Humans, who had roamed the earth for millennia, began to settle down, domesticating plants and animals. This wasn't an overnight change, but a slow, revolutionary process. For the first time, we could produce a surplus of food. This surplus was the spark that ignited the flame of civilization. In the lush, fertile crescent of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerians built the world's first cities, like Uruk and Uru. They were pioneers in every sense, inventing the wheel, creating complex irrigation systems, and developing the first known form of writing, cuneiform. They etched their laws, myths, and records onto clay tablets, giving a voice to our distant ancestors. At the same time, along the life-giving Nile River, the kingdom of ancient Egypt rose to rising power. For nearly 3,000 years, this civilization flourished, building monumental pyramids that still defy imagination, and developing a sophisticated society ruled by pharaohs who were revered as living gods. They charted the stars, mastered medicine, and created a rich spiritual world centered on the afterlife. But these weren't the only cradles of civilization. Ideas and innovations began to spread, creating a patchwork of rising cultures. In the Indus Valley, great cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa showcased incredible urban planning, complete with grid-like streets and advanced sanitation systems that wouldn't be seen again for centuries. Far to the east along the Yellow River in China, the Shang dynasty was casting intricate bronze vessels and developing a system of writing that would evolve into the characters used today, laying the foundations of a culture that would endure for millennia. These weren't isolated pockets of humanity. They were the first crucial hubs in a growing global human network, trading goods, ideas, and technologies. Then came the Age of Empires, an era of unprecedented scale and ambition. In the rugged lands of Greece, a new way of thinking emerged. In the bustling city-state of Athens, thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle questioned everything about the world and our place in it, laying the groundwork for Western philosophy, science, and political thought. The Greeks gave us the concept of democracy, the dramatic arts of tragedy and comedy, and the athletic spectacle of the Olympic Games. Their ideas were so potent that they were embraced and spread by the next great power to dominate the Mediterranean, Rome. Starting as a humble republic, Rome grew into a colossal empire, a marvel of engineering, law, and military might. The Romans built roads that connected their vast territories, aqueducts that supplied their cities with fresh water, and a legal system whose principles still influence us today. From the misty shores of Britain to the deserts of Mesopotamia, the Pax Romana, or Roman peace, allowed for an unprecedented flow of trade and culture. But no empire lasts forever. Internal decay and external pressures from migrating tribes eventually led to the fall of the Western Roma Empire in 476 AD, plunging Europe into a period often called the Dark Ages. Yet, in the East, the Byzantine Empire, with its magnificent capital at Constantinople, carried the torch of Roman civilization for another 1,000 years. As Europe fragmented, a new, powerful force was rising from the Arabian Peninsula. In the 7th century, the Prophet Muhammad brought forth the religion of Islam, and within a century, Arab armies had forged a massive empire stretching from Spain to India. This period, known as the Islamic Golden Age, became a beacon of learning and innovation. While Europe was in a state of relative stagnation, scholars in Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba were making groundbreaking advances in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. They preserved and translated the ancient Greek texts, which would later fuel the European Renaissance. Across the globe, other great civilizations were charting their own destinies. In the Americas, the Mayans built stunning pyramids in the jungles of Central America, developing a complex calendar and a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Later, the Aztec Empire would build its magnificent capital, Tenochtitlan, in the middle of a lake, a city of canals and floating gardens that astounded the first Europeans who saw it. In the Andes Mountains of South America, the Inca Empire engineered an incredible network of roads and bridges, ruling a vast territory with remarkable efficiency. By the late Middle Ages, the world was on the cusp of another great transformation. The Renaissance, a rebirth of art, science, and humanism, began in the city-states of Italy. Inspired by the rediscovered knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome, artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo created masterpieces that celebrated human potential, while scientists like Copernicus and Galileo challenged the old dogmas, placing the sun, not the earth, at the center of the solar system. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century was a true game-changer, allowing ideas to spread faster and farther than ever before. This intellectual ferment, combined with the Protestant Reformation, forever fractured the religious unity of Europe and set the stage for the modern world. Simultaneously, the Age of Discovery was redrawing the map of the world. Driven by a desire for gold, glory, and God, European explorers like Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan set sail on perilous voyages across unknown oceans. This marked the beginning of a truly global age, but it came at a terrible cost. The Columbian Exchange saw plants, animals, and diseases move between the old and new worlds, with devastating consequences for the indigenous populations of the Americas. This era also initiated centuries of European colonialism, as powerful nations built vast overseas empires, exploiting resources and people across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The 18th century brought the Enlightenment, or the Age of Reason. Thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau, and John Locke championed ideas of liberty, individual rights, and government by consent of the governed. These radical ideas fueled revolutions that would topple old monarchies and give birth to new nations. The American Revolution of 1776 created a republic founded on the principles of freedom and democracy. Just over a decade later, the French Revolution overthrew its king with the cry of liberty, equality, fraternity, sending shockwaves across Europe and the world. Hot on the heels of these political upheavals came an economic one, the Industrial Revolution, beginning in Britain in the late 18th century. New technologies like the steam engine and the power loom transformed manufacturing, transportation, and daily life. People flocked from the countryside to rapidly growing cities to work in factories. This new industrial society created immense wealth and technological progress, but also led to harsh working conditions, social inequality, and new political ideologies like socialism and communism, which challenged the capitalist order. The 20th century was a period of extremes, of unprecedented progress, and unimaginable horror. Two devastating world wars reshaped the global balance of power, costing tens of millions of lives and leading to the collapse of old empires. The world was then plunged into the Cold War, a decades-long ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, a conflict fought with proxy wars, an arms race, and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. Yet, this same century saw humanity take its first steps on the moon, eradicate diseases like smallpox, and spark a digital revolution that would connect the entire globe. And that brings us to today, to the digital age. The invention of the microprocessor and the internet has transformed our world in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. We now live in a global village where information, money, and culture flow across borders in an instant. We carry supercomputers in our pockets, have access to the sum of human knowledge at our fingertips, and are grappling with new challenges like climate change, artificial intelligence, and global pandemics. The story of human civilization is not a simple, linear march of progress. It is a complex, often messy, and endlessly fascinating tale of innovation and destruction, of compassion and cruelty, of towering achievements and epic failures. It is the story of how we, a fragile species on a small planet, have built the incredible, interconnected world we live in today. From the first cities of Sumer to the sprawling metropolises of the 21st century, it is the story of us. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the entire history of human civilization. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the epic story of humanity. We drop new videos 3 times a week, so make sure you ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. We'll see you in the next one.